In the spring of 2020, as the world grappled with an unprecedented crisis, a different kind of storm was brewing in the digital realm. A massive wave of unemployment fraud was about to hit the United States, threatening to drain billions of dollars intended for those who had lost their jobs. But this sophisticated, multi-state attack would meet an unexpected roadblock: a college student working from his bedroom. This is the story of how one person's vigilance saved tens of millions of dollars and exposed a massive international crime ring. Our story begins with Michael, a 20-year-old cybersecurity student at a state university. Like many others, his classes had moved online and he was spending more time than ever in front of his computer. But Michael wasn't just playing video games or binge-watching shows. He had a passion for ethical hacking and network security. He spent his free time monitoring public data streams, analyzing network traffic, and looking for anomalies, treating it like a real-world puzzle. One Tuesday night, while scanning publicly accessible logs for state government websites, Michael noticed something odd. A few state unemployment benefit portals were experiencing an unusual spike in login attempts. It wasn't a massive brute force attack that would immediately trigger alarms. Instead, it was a slow, methodical trickle of login attempts, just under the threshold that would normally be flagged as suspicious. Most people would have dismissed it as background noise on the internet, but Michael's curiosity was piqued. He started digging deeper. The login attempts were coming from thousands of different IP addresses, making them look like individual, unrelated users. However, he noticed a pattern. The usernames and passwords being tested were not random. They seemed to be credentials that had been leaked in previous data breaches from other websites, a technique known as credential stuffing. The attackers were betting that people reused the same passwords across different sites. If your email and password for a shopping site were leaked, they'd try that same combination on the state unemployment portal. It was a numbers game, and with millions of leaked credentials, they were bound to get some hits. As Michael continued to trace the source of these login attempts, he discovered something even more alarming. The IP addresses, though scattered, were all being routed through a series of servers based in Eastern Europe. This wasn't some local hacker trying their luck. This was a coordinated, sophisticated operation. The slow, distributed nature of the attack was designed specifically to fly under the radar of automated security systems. He realized the attackers weren't just trying to access accounts. They were running an automated script. The script would log in, check if an unemployment claim was active, and if it was, it would attempt to change the bank account details on file to one controlled by the criminals. The next scheduled payment would then be diverted, siphoning money directly from the state and the person who desperately needed it. Michael did some quick math. He estimated the script was successfully compromising dozens of accounts every hour across several states, with each account potentially receiving hundreds or even thousands of dollars in weekly benefits. The total amount at risk was staggering. We're not talking about a few $1,000s. This was a heist targeting tens of millions, possibly even hundreds of millions if left unchecked. He knew he couldn't sit on this information. But what could he do? He was just a student. Who would believe him? He pictured trying to explain the complex situation to a non-technical person over a generic hotline. He worried his warning would get lost in bureaucracy, dismissed as a crank call while the digital heist continued. Time was running out. The unemployment benefits were typically paid out at the end of the week. The attackers had timed their operation perfectly to change the banking information just before the next payment cycle. He had maybe 48 hours, at most, before the money started flowing to the criminals. Taking a leap of faith, Michael started looking for direct contacts. He bypassed the general help desks and started searching for cybersecurity personnel within the state governments on professional networking sites. He found an email address for the chief information security officer of his own state. With a deep breath, he composed a detailed email. He laid out everything he had found: the unusual login patterns, the credential stuffing technique, the network of overseas servers, and his estimation of the potential financial loss. He attached log files and his analysis, providing concrete evidence to back up his claims. He hit send and waited. The minutes felt like hours. He paced his room, wondering if his email would even be read, or if it would be filtered into a spam folder. He almost gave up hope, thinking he had done all he could. Then, just after 2 a.m., his phone rang. It was an unknown number. He hesitantly answered. The voice on the other end was professional and urgent. It was the state's chief information security officer. He had seen Michael's email and his team had immediately started verifying the information. What they found confirmed Michael's deepest fears. The attack was real. It was active, and it was affecting not just their state, but at least 5 others. Michael had just blown the whistle on a massive, multi-state cybercrime operation. What followed was a whirlwind of activity. The state agency immediately brought in federal law enforcement, including the FBI. Michael spent the next several hours on a conference call with seasoned cybersecurity experts and federal agents, walking them through his findings. His clear, concise analysis provided them with the critical head start they needed. He was no longer just a student in his bedroom. He was a key asset in an active federal investigation. The agents were impressed by his skill and the level of detail he had uncovered on his own. He showed them how the attackers were using a sophisticated botnet to distribute their login attempts, making the operation incredibly difficult to trace and shut down. With Michael's data as a roadmap, the authorities moved swiftly. They worked with the other affected states to implement emergency security measures. They blocked the malicious IP ranges he had identified and updated their security protocols to detect the specific type of slow burn attack being used. Most importantly, they were able to freeze the system and review all recent changes to bank account information before the next wave of payments was sent out. The transfers were stopped. The attack was neutralized. Thanks to Michael's intervention, not a single dollar of the targeted tens of millions was successfully stolen. The criminals' elaborate plan had been foiled. In the aftermath, the investigation expanded. The evidence Michael provided was instrumental in helping international law enforcement agencies track down the criminal ring responsible. It turned out to be a well-known cybercrime group that had been behind numerous other large-scale financial attacks. Michael, for his part, remained humble. He hadn't been seeking fame or reward. He was just a curious student who saw something wrong and decided to act. His university celebrated his achievement, and he was offered internships by several top cybersecurity firms and government agencies. He had proven that you don't need a fancy office or an official title to make a difference. Sometimes, all it takes is curiosity, skill, and the courage to speak up. This story is a powerful reminder of the hidden battles being fought every day in our digital world. It shows that cybersecurity isn't just about corporations and governments. It affects real people and their livelihoods. And it proves that heroes can come from the most unexpected places. One student, armed with a laptop and a sense of responsibility, stood up to a global crime syndicate and won. It makes you wonder how many other Michaels are out there, quietly watching over the digital frontier. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story as incredible as we did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of unsung heroes and amazing events. Let us know in the comments what you think. We'll see you in the next video.